Hey, everybody, how's it going? This is Rob Tierley, your host of Down the Rabbit Hole podcast, hashtag DTRH podcast. This is brought to you by White Rabbit Intel. We help you hyper-target your market and be able to know who your next best customers are before you even speak to them, inside and outside the pipeline. Now, to get started, I know, right? Everybody hates sponsorships, but guess what? I own the damn company. Now, today I have Lucas. Lucas is a fantastic guest of mine. We're going to be working together, hand and foot all the time. Very exciting thing. What I like about him is that he's a marketer, and I truly do not understand marketing at the level of, at the services level whatsoever. So he's pretty incredible. He's got an agency. It's doing a couple million in revenue, which is great because most agencies cannot get past that 1 million mark. So it's very impressive. And he's doing all the right things. He does things differently. So, Lucas, if you don't mind, introduce yourself more formally. That would be great.
Thank you so much. That's a great introduction. And definitely give yourself credit as well. I think what you've done is amazing, and I'm excited to work with you. More formally, I guess, I launched Twiz, which is my marketing agency, back in 2018. I was a college student, and I had no idea what I was doing. I remember my first contract I closed was for $450 per month. I originally pitched them a $10,000 contract. They got me all the way down to $450. I knew nothing about negotiation or sales or marketing.
No, obviously
not. Not at all. So I did not know how to pitch on value at the time, but I was able to get that company scaled. Got it. Last year, we did $1.7 million in revenue. I actually realized today, because someone commented on my LinkedIn post, they were like, "Oh, does this mean you guys are on the Inc. 500?" And I was like, "No, we actually didn't quite hit the Inc. 500 because you have to do over 2 million this past year to be there. But our growth rate actually was enough to be, I think it was number 500 or something if we were on it. So this year, we're already up 40% for the year. We'll be on the Inc. 500 next year, which is pretty cool, or this year. So I'm excited for that. So that's been great team. Love the people working there. I launched AgencyGO, which is a community of agency owners. I'm trying to teach them everything that I did not know when I scaled my agency, because it was kind of a lonely process. We didn't really know what we were doing. Trying to help them scale further and faster than I did. And then, I built the software. I'm a software developer as well. I built the software to help all these agencies grow faster. We have a Slack community, and I'm really focused on that now. Now it's really just the agency community, and also scaling my agency to $10 million in revenue this year is the goal. So 5x what we did last year.
It's possible. It's doable.
It's doable. Yes, I think my challenge I just launched, I put in a quote from Elon Musk. I think it was the first step is to realize it is a possibility, and then once you've realized it's a possibility, then probability will occur. Like you're statistically going to go one way or another, but obviously if you never believe it will, then it will never happen. So it's another way of saying that, but I like
I like to say that there are two truths in this world. There's I can and I can't, and they're both synonymously true, but the one that you choose to believe is the one that's true to you.
That's some Dr. Seuss level stuff right there. That's very catchy. Level. Well, very catchy. You had a rhyme going on there.
Yeah, it was not intentionally meant to rhyme. It's just, but I liked it though. And it's a dichotomy, right?
I liked it. You'll definitely remember that. It's funny. I heard this will be my last little thing, and then I'll let you go into your questions and stuff. But I listened to a podcast last year.
This podcast isn't structured that way.
Yeah, he did say that. I listened to this podcast last year, and they were talking about the guy who started Shake Shack, and he's obviously a top level executive.
What a great fucking name.
Yeah, Shake Shack.
You see Shake Shack, you read that, you say it out loud, you will never forget until the day you die.
Never. It is a great company. He's got a great culture. He owns a lot of the different restaurants in New York. And what he said in his book that he talks about is that the best leaders are able to not only talk in parables and allegories and things like that to get people to believe something and really synergize something, but they're also able to put things into catchphrases that people can easily understand. So that way the entire message is communicated across the organization easily, right? So yeah, your ability to do that shows that you're a good leader, and is actually a very important skill, weirdly enough.
Well, it's how you get people to resonate with you and believe in a cause. So mission, vision, and purpose. Mission, vision, and purpose are the three most important things. That's what gets you to your goals. And if you don't have people who believe in the mission, who are driving it, who understand the purpose and personally believe and are tied to emotionally the purpose, And the vision, if they cannot see the vision and you cannot display the vision in a way that they can see it, you will not have people follow you very far for very long.
Yes, that is
It'll
true.
create loyalty.
Yeah, that is true. It's all about incentives and it's all about motivation at this stage. I mean, once you get past like $2 million a year, it's all about those things, right? Like
Behavioral
an organization.
Money is not what
Yes.
drives people anymore, especially millennials.
Yeah, of course. Money, obviously, this is going to sound tacky and obvious, but it's just paper. But I think or digital, depending on how you're using it. But I think the biggest
money
thing
is the outcome, not the
it's
goal.
the outcome. Yes, I was about to get to that. Yeah, that's the thing. It's the solution. It's the thing that gets you there. But clearly, anybody who's ever gained an enormous amount of wealth knows that it's more than just paper or digital currency or something like that. It's
The zeros in your bank account are dictated by services rendered.
Yes. So I love that, man. I always love the way you think, and I'm excited, for everything we're about to do together. So, I'll
tell me this.
Yeah.
So what the whole point of this conversation today, so that all the listeners do know,
yes,
is that we wanted to talk about how to close $7,000 deals and still remain profitable, right? So
Yes.
it's a smaller scale deal, but at the same time, it's large enough to make an impact. But then when you're in those mid thousands to low 10,000s, profitability usually goes out the window.
Yes, and it's funny. I actually just had a opportunity to pitch a $40,000 per month contract to mid-market company, and we actually turned it down. And I have a phrase I tell my team now, because I was a bit of a yes man before, but I have a phrase I tell my team now.
Everybody is when they start.
Yeah, I know. It's
until you learn the hard way. That's a really fucking bad idea.
Yeah, it is. And the thing is, I just say if you're not saying no to somebody every week, you're doing it wrong. So last week I said no to somebody. This week I said no to somebody, and it was that $40,000 a month contract. And the thing is that it was a program we've been piloting where it actually isn't profitable really for us. I mean, the actual profit we're making on it after like $7,000 a month is not more in really any way, shape, or form than the deals we can close within 3,000 to 7,000, and those deals are way easier to close per month. And so what I try to do is I try to always get the top end at like 7,000. But the point being is that anything above that, if it's on purely outbound prospecting that we're doing for companies, which is one portion of our services, it is not really scalably incredibly profitable. What is scalably incredibly profitable though is our inbound and like ads services. Those are scalably incredibly profitable. And so a lot of it is deciding
and let it run.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of it is deciding, like really looking at the margins on things and understanding that bigger is definitely not always better. And the real skill of an entrepreneur at this stage is, can you maintain incredibly fat margins while also simultaneously giving the customer the feeling that they're getting an insanely good deal? It's funny because that one client I just mentioned, we had a little bit of a slip up in one of our proposals where I didn't mention that you had to purchase 2 of this particular quantity in order to work with us. So they saw the lower price tag and they thought that was the minimum. And so they came back to us like, hey, we're really interested in starting this lower amount. And I have to send them an email being like, no, actually the lower amount is the higher amount. You just have to pick 2 of the quantity. But that's the only reason he said this, because they always look for the lowest price point. Everyone always looks for the lowest price point. So that's the first.
Small businesses do.
Yeah, well, mid market too. This was a company doing $20 million a year, and the thing is that
looking for the lowest price.
Yeah, well, I don't know, not lowest price, but let me put it this way: it's not the lowest price; it's that they're always looking for a deal. I call it the buyer's bargain. You're usually always looking for a deal. I get that there are certain things that you don't want to be at like a deal, right? Like for instance, if it's like you're doing a complete overhaul of your IT or, technical security, like things, you don't want to fuck that up. So
and like with personal assets, like a car.
Yeah, no, 100%. You don't want to go cheap on those things. I completely understand. Sometimes people have this feeling that marketing though, you can go cheap on because there's so many people saying that you could do marketing for cheap. And
God, dude, marketers are used up and spit out like crazy. It is disgusting what people do to them, and they bend over backwards.
And that's the thing. Done. I mean, that's the thing. That's kind of what I'm getting at, is that the The real way to answer your original question or proposition to be able to generate insane profits at that level is to play the game that your customers are playing with you. Because if you think about it, let's say you're talking to a CMO, right? Or you're talking to a CEO or just any position of executive authority, or they are going to either, because it's their own business, let's say it's the CEO or a founder, let's say founder. If it's their own business, they're going to want to feel like they're not spending too much money. So they're going to, at a certain point, try to get either more value for the price, or they're going to try to knock you down on price. A lot of the time. Now, it might not be all the time, but a lot of the time in marketing, they're going to do that. A CMO, though, is going to want to feel good about the decision, because they don't want to go to their boss and say, I'm overpaying for this. They want to feel like they're getting a good deal. And usually if you're at the RFP phase, right, you're basically being pitched against multiple vendors. There's a lot of different people that are vying for that work. So you're in a position of power where you can basically say, I'll do it, but knock off 25%. I'll do it, knock off 20%. So if you know they're going to probably do that, then you just mark your prices up, right? Because you know they're going to mark it down. You know that's going to happen. And the thing is, if you are doing a good job as a business owner, you should already be delivering 10x more value than the price. So marking it up 25% is not unethical. It's not bad, because you should have guarantees. You should have something that shows you're going to get work done, and you're delivering so much insane value.
Most entrepreneurs, like newer entrepreneurs and new business owners, they undervalue the shit out of their product. It's part of it, or they jack up the price so high it's not worth anywhere near that much.
Yeah,
right?
I think they just don't know how to pitch on value.
It's interesting though, because it's more so a personality. Do you want to be that cheap solution? Do you want to be that mid-market solution? Do you want to be that luxurious, expensive solution that's like top of the line boutique type of thing? It just depends on what you're looking to display yourself as. And it's kind of interesting, because you're talking about mark it up, and you usually get cut too low. And then on the flip side, like I have a utility-based company. It's the opposite. So as we increase volume, it actually creates more profitability, but for every party. So it's an interesting way to see that actually increase over a trajectory, but that's a whole different service. So it's interesting to see from a services perspective. Once you scale out the services large enough, profitability usually ends up going down rather than up.
It does. Well, it's interesting though, because you see these plays by companies like AWS. I mean, AWS is a perfect utility-based model. I think obviously they're enormous, and they're the reason that Amazon even became extremely profitable, in my opinion. I'm sure other people have different opinions on that, but that's
their e-commerce pretty much broke them even the whole time. AWS is what actually made the money.
100%. It's a huge cash flow business. And the thing is that with that company, right, I actually had an experience using them. I'm sure a lot of people listening to the show have. But I've used them quite a bit for things like hosting different things and working either with our applications or other people's. And the thing that I've realized is, like, there's little things they do that add up in terms of profitability where you don't really even think about them, but they make the product even more profitable, even if it is a utility-based play. So for instance, one thing they do, which I think is really interesting, is, they sell support. Right? They sell support, and they'll have different levels of support. They'll have like the base support, they'll have the premium support. And I think one of their levels of support is like, it's an X amount of money or 1% of your total utility charge for the month.
Whichever is greater. Yeah.
Whatever is greater. And what I noticed myself doing, I started using it. I was working through it. I will admit I wasn't 100% using it every single day. So if I was like really on it, I probably would have been a little more cost effective. But there were months like where I was paying for more support than I even realized. And they were so helpful in the times that I used it. It went so above and beyond.
You can't even be mad about it.
No, yeah. It's such insane. I'm literally getting like development level expertise to solve my problems. I'm like, okay, they just made a buttload on me because they have an outsourced team that probably didn't cost them very much. They're charging USD for this, and they're making insane profit margins. They're only spending an hour probably over a 6-month period on my account, but they're making insane margins. And I can't say no, because I know I can't get anywhere near that. And because they have something that's so complex where like it is difficult for outside people even to be experts at it, I know that they're the best solution. So they're selling me the solution, not the service. And that's what I always try to tell people is like, they're selling me something that is very difficult to have other people replicate, so they can mark it up so much. So
And
I
stuff
see
like
that.
that, when it
Yeah.
already exists, there's no reason to reinvent the wheel because it's so expensive to set up that infrastructure that you may as
Yeah.
well use theirs. It's the build versus buy. And
Yes.
to build that, you need such a large
Oh
budget
yeah.
that
Oh
it's just
yeah.
not realistic.
It's not. I mean, they're just something else. It is insane to see it's insane to see a business model that perfect that's ever existed, in my opinion. I think
Yeah,
it's
and they
one of
make
the
a lot of
best.
money off of us too. Like when you're running lambdas, like mass quantities of data, running them through serverless lambdas,
Yeah.
like it's like cha-ching, 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 cha-ching at this
I
process.
know. It's just insanity. I mean, it is amazing. I try to learn as much as I can from them, but I think that's the biggest thing. It's all about arbitrage, right? Like there is a clear supply and demand. There's a clear supply constraint with something like that, and there's a clear demand intensity with that you can measure because they are the only. There is so complex to understand how they built it that they are the best solution at understanding it. So they have something really good they can mark up and make incredible margins on. Now, I like to look at that and in terms of how do I close these deals for $7,000 plus and maintain incredible margins. I look at it the same way. You have to understand your arbitrage opportunity. So first, you have to understand, are you in the right category? So that's the first thing. So what I always try to tell people is,
Could
look,
you define category for everybody?
yeah, 100%. So I actually just came up with this catchphrase, just like we were talking about earlier. I don't know if maybe someone else came up with it before, but it popped in my brain the other day. Is that your cogs determine your category? And I'll give a little short story to kind of explain it. So I had, a focused solely on SEO when I first started my agency. It was just SEO agency. It's all we did. We were really good at content production too. So people came to us all the time for blog writing and everything like that. And we had really good margins and we grew really fast. And I was always wondering, because we finally broke through after plateauing for 6 months and doubled that growth as well. And then that's how we got to our cruising altitude where we're at now. But we've honestly had this series of stops and starts along the way. And I didn't realize until recently that, we had our first growth spurt from October 2019 to October 2020. Then we had our plateau for 6 months. And then we had another growth spurt to 185,000 and then a plateau for the last 6 months. And
that is the case of operational change. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. And the thing
that's
is,
where most agencies get stuck at revenue is that operationally they cannot handle the load.
Yes. So yes to that. Yeah. But I would say that with the thing is though, that we expanded our services to go from, one service to multiple, and that led to a lot of growth in revenue. But what we didn't do is we didn't really quite realize that. I mean, we knew our margins were the same or shrinking a little bit, but we were still growing a lot, but we were still kind of profitable. We were profitable and we still are, but we weren't insanely profitable. And what I realized the reason for that was because our customers wanted something that we actually weren't delivering to them. We were getting them great results and we were working super hard to give it to them. But what they really wanted was they wanted more of an employee level role. When you're doing a full service marketing agency, they want more employee level role. They don't just want a
That's
one-off
incredibly
thing.
smart too, because they're not looking for an outsourced agency that gives them half of a second of attention every single month. They want someone working in their department. They want to hire a marketing person without having to hire a marketing person who already has the infrastructure set up to know exactly what to do and to get it done quickly.
Great way to put it. Great way.
That's what I would want. Literally, that's what I want.
Exactly. And so the thing is, and this is where we figure out, and this is why I tell everyone we're going to hit $10 million in revenue this year. And I will hold myself to that, but
I'll hold you to it.
Everyone else hopefully hold me to it. But the thing is
I'll come over there.
So that's the thing. I really hope we hit it. And I think we will, because let's think about the numbers, right? We had something that was a really good deal because people were getting essentially a full service team for our average retainer at the time. We built a $1.7 million company where our average retainer was $1,500 a month, right? That's a lot of volume, a lot of turnover on clients, because we weren't making enough profit to sustain the clients and put in enough work on it because we weren't charging enough money. So
that's right. And a client-centric, relationship-driven approach is key to truly scaling, because maintaining your customer base is more profitable. So marketing to existing customers is 5 times cheaper. Selling, so cross-selling and upselling excess or a marked up services to existing clients is 6 to 12 times less expensive than going out to cold.
Yes. And so that's 100% right. And the thing is that because we identified that we were still pricing ourselves in our previous category. And that was the one-off solo marketing solution and not the full service one. We were still pricing ourselves as the previous one because our actual average didn't change. It was the same as before. We just added all these different services and we thought, well, we can make money. So like, let's just keep charging the same thing because we were making money. Our margins were good. They just weren't like enormously good. And so now what we're doing is because we reframe the conversation and we say, look, we're not a one-off marketing solution. If you want a one-off marketing solution, go find somebody else. Like we're not that. What we are is we are a full service marketing solution. And who we're competing against, yes, we are competing against other agencies. But really who we're competing against is the employee option. It's like you're going to spend $50,000 per year on an employee, or you could spend $50,000 per year on us. And when we compete on that, we like absolutely destroy the competition.
It's like that with custom development too. Custom software development, it's the same type of a thing. And that's the approach that they started taking. So the ones that really grew, or DevOps shops, like, DevOps providers, things like that, or even RevOps shops, where you're not getting a RevOps director or anything like that to just drive the whole thing. It's all about them sitting there as an employee. It's almost like a fractional employee. Well, it's a fractional team at the price of an employee.
Yes, that is exactly it. And that's a great way to put it. I'm actually going to start using that fractional team as the price of employee. I've been just saying that we're 10x better than an employee, which is true. Cause like, where can you get someone?
Not necessarily, depends on the person.
Well, I think it is because we have 12 full-time people on our team. And, I think of it like this. It's like, okay, when have I ever, for $5,000 per month, that's like $20 per hour before taxes that I have to pay on this person and benefits and everything. So it comes out to like $25 an hour. Have I ever hired, and I'm curious if any of these listeners have either, has anyone here ever hired anybody for $20 per hour in the States, US based, who has from day one provided a 12-month marketing plan? This is like before hiring them, a 12-month marketing plan that they've done hundreds of times over, that doesn't require any management, doesn't require any training, doesn't require any like onboarding really. I mean, it's like a little bit, has no turnover, right? Zero turnover. Where do you get that? And a team of experts, where is that even possible for $20 an hour? It doesn't exist. And so that's the arbitrage opportunity.
You're talking like $200 an hour for that type of a package.
Exactly. And so that's the arbitrage. The arbitrage for an agency is pitting yourself against an employee. And the reason why it's an employee and not another marketing company, by the way, is because most marketing companies, I think it was from, I forgot the book, but there's a book. I'll have to go find it. But they talk about how the businesses typically will work with inbound businesses. It's like, if you do it right, you can get it up to where they will usually only talk to one vendor first before going with another one. Obviously, when you get to like mid-market or enterprise, they're talking to a lot of different people. But a lot of small businesses, if you're not listed
in the Gartner list, then you're immediately disqualified. Like, for example, Bank of America didn't work with us simply because we weren't listed in that Gartner list. I don't know why people follow that as if it's law, because Gartner approached us and said, do you want to be a part of our emerging technologies divisions? We want you as a partner. It's a pay to play. If I paid them $57,642, I can get on that list. Sure. That's all it takes. Doesn't matter what your service does, how well it works. Doesn't matter what your reviews are. Totally fucking irrelevant. You just pay them $57,000 a year. Boom, you're on the list, baby.
Yes.
And then all the enterprises trust that shit.
Yep. I mean, that's what just happens when you're dealing with large sums of money. It's just
no offense to Gartner. That's a very smart way to make money. And I love your market statistics. So no hate there.
I was going to say, like, I really, that's the thing. When you get to a certain size, it's all about trust. Who do you know? Who should you work with and everything? You can leverage it. That's their arbitrage opportunity. They basically have no cost on that, but they could, just by having their name, that's their arbitrage, right?
Okay, there's some cost. Let me tell you what comes with it. It's a package. Okay. You can send them copy that you write, and then they just dump it into an analyzer of keywords and tell you if it's relevant to the market with an automated report. And then you have access to some guy that you've never met before who's like a marketing specialist who you can talk to like an hour a week that gives you suggestions. Yeah, no. And then I think that's the thing is like you get all these when you start thinking in terms of arbitrage, you get all of these interesting opportunities that pop up where you really start kicking yourself, because you're like, if you just focus solely on price and you're not considering like, how can I make the most on this deal
while also giving the customer the most value on this deal simultaneously. Like the winner in any market is the person who can, it's like a spectrum, is the person who can, whatever the price is, has the least amount of cost and also has the most customer surplus. That's the winner. And that's it. It's literally just that. It's that simple. However you define it, it's just whatever it is.
But my company, for example, I'm not trying to talk about my company. What I'm saying is that the value provided for the cheapest, like for the lowest cost, for example, 57.4 cents for a contact record processed. What does that mean? I don't want to pay that much. I pay that much for lead gen. You don't even generate leads for me. Doesn't matter. What we're doing is that each of those contacts, think about it. Every contact that you reach out to, all the people that you pay to do that, how much is it costing you per contact record that you do outreach to? I bet you it's somewhere, if it's cold and it doesn't turn into a meeting, just a waste of a lead, somewhere approximately around $20. $20 is what that's costing you, give or take.
Yeah.
About half hour of a salesperson's time. Okay. That's what it's costing you.
Right.
All right. Now, there's a half hour less of their time on productive work. So if you eliminate all of the leads that are dead ends, that are not a fit whatsoever, how much money did you just save? It's $20 per dead end lead that was eliminated, and you're paying 57 cents per.
Yeah.
To save that $20. And now they spend all their time on productivity rather than 86% of their time on unproductive action. How much time and money did that save you? How much money did that just make you?
Yeah. And I would be really interested to, like, you know, on another note here, just in terms of value, like, you know, people always grasp. It's why I always lead with a higher price point, because I know they're going to try to mark it down. It's like, so even mentioning
10x return type of thing. So anything that they spend with you, they get 10x in return. Is what that's your.
Yeah. So I always tell people, because like what I tell people is this: I'm like, look, at the end of the day, once I put it in their mind, like I'm reframing it, I'm putting in their mind that like we actually have people that we're putting onto their account that are employees that need to be paid for.
I call that the sphere of awareness.
Yeah, exactly. Once I put that in their mind, then they look at me and they say, okay, I understand that, you know, if you could tell me, like, so we don't, what I'm getting at is that they pay us the fee to basically have our team work on their account. And we have a bunch of guarantees we do. But they know they can't get it for free, because it's the same. Like, have you ever hired an employee and said, oh yeah, thanks for working for a month, I would like my money back now? It's like, that's illegal. So that doesn't work. And, you know, we're saving them a whole bunch of money by doing it this way, in a more efficient way. But the point being is that the return side of things, people sometimes will ask me like, oh, how can you guarantee revenue? And I'm like, I don't guarantee revenue. I'd be a trillionaire if I could guarantee revenue. Like, I literally could guarantee that you'd make.
You literally have everything figured out at that point. Like, like down to the meta. You have
it's like no one can do that. It's like, think about with finance, like, if you put your money into a fund, can they guarantee a fixed return? Like, no. That's like more of loans and getting interest and things like that, but even then somebody could default.
The government does that with government bonds, but that also explains why they're in $21 trillion of debt.
Exactly.
Because
so
they
it's
have
like,
to pay that premium on that, and they don't even have the money.
Exactly. So that's the thing. It's what I tell people is that, and then how I circumvent it though is, again, it's all psychology. And that's the thing. What I've realized for all the people I've interviewed so far, the only difference between people doing $1 million to $2 million a year and then doing $10 million plus is just psychology. It's just their understanding of psychology. That's it. And so one thing we do for psychology's sake is we'll start off at a higher price, because we know that everyone's going to try to get us to like 20% less. Not always. Some people will just say, this is great, let's do it. But a lot of people will try to get it to be 20% less. And we'll say, okay, look, all right, we understand that it's like, let's say $7,000 a month.
Why don't you stand your ground? This is how much it costs.
Mainly because I want them to go from that conversation and go to their business partner, or go to their wife, or go to their husband, or go to whatever, and say, holy shit, this is a great deal. Like,
so I disagree with that, because my idea is that you provide so much value, even though you didn't move on the price. Guess what? They got so much value, they couldn't even give it. You could have charged them double. So after they received the service and the value, they're like, damn, you could have charged me double.
Well, we could definitely try that approach. I think the big thing is that you have to remember our margins we literally have, it only costs us $1,000 a month.
Why not have a higher margin? This is all about profit, isn't it?
That's what I'm saying. So it's $6,000.
Also, guess what? You qualify out the scrubs that way.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing. It's like, if you have so much sticker shock, you're not going to take another meeting with me, then you're probably not really thinking about growth in the same way that I am.
So, I agree with you, where it's like, give them the higher bid, especially in marketing, because you're offering them like a package where they can chop parts off that aren't Like, you don't need them. It's just that you should have them. That's different rather than saying it costs this much for this one service and then say, oh, I'll do 30% less on that same service. No, it's about
100%.
removing different pieces.
Yeah. Well, and actually what I try to do, I tell my team this, I'm like, if someone says, because the good thing about marketing is like, let's say it's what we pitch people is a 12-month marketing plan. And then we customize it for them. We spend like 2 or 3 meetings going through it. And they usually say like, I'd like this to be taken out. I don't really need outbound. Like, let's just focus on these things. And what we do is instead of doing what a lot of people do, and I think this is where they mess up, we don't take things out and then simultaneously lower the price. What we do is we take things out and we replace it with more of the thing that's in there so that the price is the same. And then they have to tell us, I want something less.
That makes sense. Because it's funny because people think that discounting things or offering something free up front is good. Like, if I work with a lot of people out in the UK, if you ask them, it's like if somehow the salesperson has an expectation, it's like, oh, well, are you looking for a free trial? They'll literally laugh and be like, free trial? Why would you not charge someone for services? That's freaking ridiculous. What are you, stupid? They literally say that.
And
then that's even at the small business level. Then in the US, like, I spoke to a large mid-market company. I'm not going to name them. But we were like, well, we don't discount. So if you talk to my team and they say, well, can it become less than that? This is the price. If there's a problem, walk away. It's already so cheap. We've democratized something insanely advanced. If you want it cheaper, go somewhere else. You don't want our services, obviously. But the point is, we were like, oh, well, we can build out this model. It was a custom model, custom predictive model. We don't do custom models either. It's like, well, we were interested because it was in our R&D. Like, yeah, we can build out this model and, we can run some data, see how it goes. And, we can eat the cost on that. They literally were like, you're going to eat the cost? Why would you offer that to me? What are you, stupid? Like, literally, this is what they said to me. I was like, well, because it's an art. Like, you don't eat the cost. Like, what are you expecting? Are you trying to grow your company or kill it? What the fuck? The guy literally yelled at me and lectured me for like 30 minutes on why not to do that. And then, and then he said, okay, let's give it a try. And then we ran it and all that stuff. And it didn't get the outcomes that we expected because it was uncharted territory. But we're going to be talking to them again in like next year when we develop a different section of the tech.
Yeah, and so I mean that's the thing is like I going through this experience, like I just had one thing we did do. So this is where it gets exciting. Is what I'll do is and I say this to everybody recently because I've been thinking on it. Is anytime you're in a conversation with a customer, you're basically trying to win an argument. Now, it might not be seen that way because you might have a jovial conversation.
It's not an argument; it's a debate. Let's
debate. Let's say. So you're basically, you're convincing them like why I should work with you. You're persuading them. And so what I like to think of is how do you win a debate or how do you win an argument? How do you win negotiation? The way you do it is you first try to establish like underlying facts that we both agree upon. And so what I do is I'll just say, how much do you think you should spend on marketing per year? And they might give me a number like 5%, 20%. I'll be like, the average is about 10. So
mutually agreed upon truth within their level of awareness. That's what it is psychologically.
Yeah, 100%. So that's the thing is it's like I just say, look, if you look at all the examples of a traditional business, if you're a SaaS company, you could spend up to 20 more. You could spend more. But if you're a traditional business, you're spending probably 10% of your budget or your revenue on marketing. And so then if they're not, and they're coming to me to grow, then I'll pitch that. So this conversation I had today with somebody.
The SaaS world is 30%, by the way.
Yeah. And that's why marketers love working with SaaS. It's actually why we're going to start going into SaaS because we can have that conversation. We can say, oh, you're a SaaS company. All right. Well,
you know how Salesforce, you know how they became the market standard, even though I personally believe that they have an over-engineered piece of shit. Okay, that's just me though. No hate on Salesforce. You do you. You have 47.6% of the market share by revenue. So good on you. You could just say I'm just some asshole. Doesn't matter. But that's the thing. I don't like it, but not everybody likes everything. Obviously, 53% of the market doesn't like it either, right?
Yeah.
Or it's out of the price range. But do you know how they got that square on the market? They put 70% of all revenue that they made over the first 9 years of that business directly into marketing. 70% of all revenue. And you know how much money they were making?
I don't know.
Yeah, they still put a large percentage into their
Yeah.
marketing, and now they just switch to almost a full channel ecosystem. Everybody sells it for them.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, that's the way you really want to do it. I mean, like with this new software I just launched, um, the thing I'm most excited about is the compounding growth of the affiliates. So it's great to see new revenue coming in, but I kind of did it differently now where like I will not do one-on-one sales. I refuse. Everything needs to be done through the funnel, it needs to be self-service, and it needs to be done through affiliates. And that's mainly because of our price. So like, we don't have a huge, it's not a utility-based company. It's like a fixed
Oh, dude, you
90
got
day
to talk to my
challenge.
CRO, Marcus Kauke. He's got the
Yeah.
podcast, The Inquisitor.
Yeah.
That won the gold. I got the bronze, as you can see in the background here, but he got the gold. And he's the guy that wrote the book, Making Channel Sales Work.
Nice. Yes.
So you're probably going to want to have a conversation with him.
I would love that. Yeah. Because the thing is, like, you just see the compounding growth of the affiliates, and you're like, okay, this is great. Because if I just keep doing everything I'm doing, if I have 5 affiliates this month, next month I'll have 10 affiliates, next month I'll have 20 affiliates, and then you're just building that broader and broader base. But that's the thing is like, I love that. That's great. And that's the thing. If you have if you start with like some agreed upon facts, and you're like, okay, 10% or 30% or whatever the number is, then it's nice because you don't really know much about what they're spending their money on. And a lot of times people are coming to you as a marketing agency. They want to grow, but they don't always know how to spend their money. So this proposal I have going out is for $160,000 per month. And the reason I'm doing it, when I know that I probably won't close them at $160,000 a month, because they're a $10 million business. They want to grow $22 million, but they're not really like, they're not really sure if they're allocating
That'll be
their
like
capital in the right way.
18% of their revenue into marketing, where if they want to grow at that level, they're going to have to spend that much.
Exactly, right? That's 100% growth, over 100% growth without any outside funding. So like, they're definitely going to need to spend money on marketing.
Yeah, they're going to have to. I mean, that is reasonable. What you pitched them is reasonable.
Yeah. So for me, I'm like, look, this is what we could do. This is if you literally fired your entire marketing and sales department, we could run everything for you, and this would be the cost. Now, very few people are going to fire all their sales and marketing department, but if they have,
I've seen it done.
Yeah, yeah. So it can happen.
Someone who we're about to do business with, where the guy, we introduced their technology. They got bought out by a company. They were made aware of us, the company that bought them out.
Yeah.
And then the VP of sales, who was at the company before they were acquired, fired all of the salespeople, and then literally fired himself. He quit, and then said, "What? This is White Rabbit. Welcome." Like it's crazy. I mean, it's kind of fucked up, but that is like a perfect tie, or an example of what, or I guess the exact equivalent to like a murder suicide.
Yeah.
Like, you just fire the whole team and then fire yourself. Like it's like a murder suicide.
Yeah. It definitely is. I mean, that's the thing though. It's when you pitch it like that, then you know who you're talking to, right? Because in a $10 million to $20 million organization, and obviously above that, your goal is to get as high up the ladder as possible. And when you give a really big proposal that's really well done and like really thought out, it finds its way to the top. And then even if they weren't originally willing to go to that number, they're going to be thinking about that for a while.
If you presented it well enough, they'll do it.
Yeah.
If the value's there, and if they have the budget, they because oftentimes you can get someone to spend more money with you than what's in their budget. For example, what I sell is a perfect example of this. There is no budget for it because it's a whole new vertical. Yeah. It's never existed before, so there's no budget that's been allocated for it. So we have to have them steal or borrow budget from other places.
Yeah.
That's where you come and play here. If you give a good enough proposal, because proposals are everything in the marketing world, obviously. That's how it works. Yeah. If you give a good enough proposal and it's above their spending category, if they find it valuable enough, they will borrow budget from the sales budget. They will borrow budget from their average ad budget. They will borrow budget from other places to make that happen.
Exactly. And so that's a big thing. And so once you've, kind of like, to wrap it all up, or like not all up, but to pull it all together, if you're trying to close bigger accounts, the way you do it is you really learn the basics of psychology. You learn the basics of supply and demand. You learn the basics of, how to, first you close a ton of deals.
And speaking of that, for the love of God, everybody who's listening out there that is into sales, For the love of God and all that is holy, do not read sales psychology books. They're fucking useless. Read relationship psychology and
that's a good
child
point.
psychology books, because you want to know why they're all fucked up the way that they are, and you want to know how to build a relationship with them as if you were dating them. Period.
That's a very good point. Although
that's
I will
the
say,
real science behind it, not that
one book
bullshit that someone threw together.
One book that doesn't really go too much into psychology, but is a great sales book is two. One, Sales Management Simplified. That book taught me everything I know about scaling sales teams. And then the other one,
that one was good.
Oh yeah, best one.
I have it sitting on my bookshelf and I haven't read it yet.
Oh yeah, so good. I mean, that's the only thing that helped me get. I distinctly remember it was December 2020. It was distinctly what helped me get to scale myself out of the business and scale up all my reps. Like I apply everything from that book, and then I was able to double my business and scale myself out, and still grow like 50% a year without myself in it. And then this year with myself in it, going back into sales to try to like catapult this thing, I think we'll hit 10 mil. But Sales Management Simplified, that's been a great book. But the other one is Spin Selling. That's like just a classic.
That is a damn good book. Yeah, it's a classic.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Like,
it's one of the few evergreen sales books. A lot of it's out of date, but then there are things that you could take away from it that will not be out of date ever.
Yeah, I mean,
human focused.
I think that book really just helped validate a lot of my ideas about sales, because I hate the whole keep trying to get them to close thing after they've said no like 5 times. Like that thing.
Well, selling past the no is the most important thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't.
That's the difference between good salespeople and great salespeople. Can you sell past the no?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I kind of take a different approach. Like the way I look at it is, and it's what's interesting about the book is that they basically say like the top salespeople were how I was when I was starting, because I was what I thought I was a really bad salesperson. Like I would ramble, I'd like go on rants, I would easily get distracted, and I would just like.
That sounds like the beginning of my sales career.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, that is apparently what the best salespeople do, because what he was saying was like the people who are too salesy are immediately disqualified. But the people who sound like they're not.
That's why it shouldn't never be called a sales process. It's the buyer's journey, and it's a sales structure where you are giving a tour of a warehouse that somebody wants to buy with all the different features and everything, but you only walk around and they ask you questions about what they're looking at. So you sell them what they're looking to buy. You are not, the whole point of a sale is to assist someone with their purchase, not to sell them something, because no one wants to be sold to and no one wants to be sold.
100%. And I think that's why like shifting from a 12-month, proposal, shifting from a marketing proposal, because we try not to call them marketing proposals, to a 12-month marketing plan has been a really good change, as it gets people to that call. Like people do not show up for our next call. They show up because they know that we are actually spending resources to make a plan for them, knowing that they're going to buy it. There's a good chance. And if they don't, it's fine, because we didn't waste all that time figuring out whether or not they could implement themselves, and they didn't either. But the thing is, like, it's an actual thing. So when you talk about that buying process, they're going through a process of making something with us. And that is radically different than everything else, is because everyone else just sends a proposal out. But like,
it's the done with you model, which in software, that's a death sentence.
Yeah.
But in the marketing world, it's beautiful. So on that note, though, we are running out of time here. What I want to do is that I'd like to make a couple book recommendations at the end of this. I know that's way out of character for me, but now that we're talking about books, I've got 4 of them in front of me. I'm going to show to everybody. It's going to be on camera. I will also say the name for those who are listening. But first, Lucas, I want to ask you 2 questions.
Yes.
First question. If people walk away from this podcast today and you wanted them to remember one thing to take action on or apply to their process or business immediately, what would that be?
Whatever you're spending on your services, if it's more than 10% of your price that you're selling to people, increase your prices. That's it. Aim for 90% in whatever you do, because at least try, right? At least try to aim for 90%, because you can do it in any industry. That's what I would say. That's the one thing.
Because you don't know what too much is until it is too much. Except with the one exception is that if you are in production or manufacturing and there is a set rate on the commodity, no. Good luck.
Yeah, definitely. But then at that point, you have to start thinking outside of the actual utilities. So you have to start thinking like, what else do they need
You have to
afterwards?
get into production of unique materials or custom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or
And then you
coaching
sell direct
courses.
to business instead of selling through the resellers and mass
Yeah,
procurement. Yeah,
exactly.
but a totally different conversation.
Yeah.
Now, what's the best place for people to find you? And what is
Yes.
the best place for people to reach you? And I would also love you to, tell people about the podcast that you have.
100%. So I would love everybody to go check out the podcast. You can find inside the podcast, we talk about where you can find us and reach us and everything. But How to Scale an Agency is the podcast name. It's if you have a digital marketing agency, and I think even if you have a service-based business, you'll find it valuable in general. But if digital marketing agencies, we interview top digital marketing agencies doing over $10 million per year in revenue. Biggest person I interviewed recently did over $54 million in revenue. And we do that every day. So like you'll always see a new episode coming out. So if you're looking to scale your agency, just look anywhere you find your podcast, go to How to Scale an Agency and you'll find it.
Beautiful. Awesome. And what's the best place to find you, your business,
Yeah.
and where to contact you?
So you can find, if you go to grow.agencygo.io, you can learn about what I'm currently working on. It is a 90-day challenge to scale your agency beyond $185,000 per month in revenue, like I did. If you want to contact me, I'm currently warming up my new email address for AgencyGO because we just launched it. Even though we have over 200 members, we just launched it about a month and a half ago. But my old email address is lucas@twiz.io. TWIZ, and you can hit me up and contact me there if you have any questions about either thing. So thanks.
Perfect. Awesome. So I wanted to make 4 or 5 book recommendations for everybody because people love book recommendations on podcasts. I don't know why, but it's the thing to do.
It is.
Number 1, and Lucas, this is direct recommendation for you. Okay. If other people read it, great. But this one right here, Unlocking the Customer Value Chain.
Oh, I think I've
How
heard it.
decoupling works, and it's how enterprises try to fight off startups from taking any market share. So you can reverse engineer that to save yourself. It's
I like
incredible.
that.
Right?
Yeah, I like
It's
that.
great for anybody who has startups out there because it gives you the idea of how the enterprises think and how they try to block you from taking market share so that you can see what they're doing to try to work around it. It's awesome. That's what we built our entire company around. Now, the second thing is human-centered communication. This is really cool. Talks about how people converse with one another, how communication happens, and then also the intrinsics behind communication to be able to apply it to automation effectively so it feels human, right? Really cool stuff. Next is Tech-Powered Sales by Justin Michael and Tony Hughes. Fantastic guys, good friends of mine. They are incredibly intelligent, and it's everything about tech-powered sales. And I mean that too. It's like nth degree. If you are not an advanced salesperson, or if you're not familiar with sales technology, I mean, very familiar, I wouldn't recommend reading this book because you will be so lost in the sauce. Right. Next is if you're looking to enable your sales team with actual sales enablement processes that work. This is by a good friend of mine, Roderick Jefferson. Won tons of sales awards. He worked with American Express, built out their entire customer success and sales enablement process in there. Guy's awesome. Sales Enablement 3.0, incredible book, very quick read, very useful. You can apply it very easily the way that it's written. And then last, of course, I suggested it before, but Making Channel Sales Work by my own CRO who wrote this and David Davies as a collaboration. So check those out, everybody. So everyone, thank you so much. Again, I want to say that this is sponsored by White Rabbit Intel. We help you hyper target the market and identify who's a fit before you speak to them, right? Who will buy from you before you speak to them, both inside and outside the pipeline or funnel. Pretty incredible stuff. A lot of fun, and it kind of gamifies the process and takes all the bullshit out of it. Now, please follow the hashtag DTRH podcast. You can find this at podcasts.whiterabbitintel.com or whiterabbitintel.com/podcasts or the whiterabbitintel.com/blog. If you like watching the videos or follow the YouTube channel, it's on literally every streaming service known to man, including our radio. So wherever the fuck you listen to it, it's going to be there. Thank you so much. Share with friends and family. As always, I appreciate everybody who listens. You help get me this award that's sitting behind me. So Top Sales Awards, Top Sales and Marketing Podcast, bronze medal. Thank you so much, everybody, for voting me in there and making it happen. If you enjoyed this episode, follow Down the Rabbit Hole podcast for new episodes weekly on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pandora, and YouTube. If you'd like to apply to be featured on the podcast or recommend a featured guest, please feel free to email us at theteam@whiterabbitintel.com.